Hey, it's Zach. In this episode, I chat with Jazz forward Joe Ingles about the devastating wildfires in his native Australia, as well as Utah's 9-game winning streak. Please take a minute to subscribe to the podcast, give it a rating. 5 stars would make me very happy, and leave a review. Before we get to today's episode, I want to remind you about another great NBA podcast in the ESPN family, The Hoop Collective, with friend of the program, Brian Windy Windhorst. On the latest episode, Brian, Kirk Goldsberry, and Kevin Pelton, pocket square nerd, debate the Bucks title chances, Kyle Kuzma's value to the Lakers, and a surprising season for those Memphis Grizzlies. You can find The Hoop Collective wherever you get your podcasts.
And now, the Lowe Post.
Welcome to the Lowe Post podcast, live from the rooftop of an undisclosed location in New York City, New York, where I'm thrilled to be joined for the second time by Utah Jazz. I'm going to call you point forward, Joe Ingles. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to get a text from you asking to be on this.
Is it really, though?
Well, it's only happened twice, but both. The first time was way more exciting because I watch media and I like watching you and Woj and seeing what you guys do. And first time was pretty cool. Second time, now that I know you, isn't as cool. But
you're big time now, though. You're an established part of the NBA now. You have a personality that people gravitate towards. You're big time. You're like, I'm surprised you don't have people that I have to go through other than the Jazz. I'm surprised you don't have
just Derek,
just like your own stylist, publicist. You know,
no, nothing of the sort. I'm a pretty basic, just a regular guy.
One of your teammates, let's call him Trudy Jobert, to protect his identity, said the one thing you have to ask Joe for me is he finally going to step up his shoe game this year? I'm assuming the answer is no. It's just going to be Chuck Taylor. There it is, black Chuck Taylors. That's it.
Yeah,
nothing.
I still don't understand it. And me and Renee talk about it all the time because when we first got to the end, I played in Australia and national team in Europe before here. And you go to games and you're sitting in these horribly uncomfortable seats and it's 3 or 4 hours or whatever the event is, and it's why am I gonna get super dressed up to sit in a plastic seat to drive back home and go to bed, where I can just, and same with me, I walk into the arena, some people take a couple photos sometimes and then I take it off and then I put it back on and then I go right back home.
That's it.
What am I going to put a pair of Gucci shoes on to walk into the arena and to walk back into my house?
You have some snappy dressers on your team, though. Some of you guys take the runway. The runway. People call it now the runway. Seriously.
So we used to be pretty bad, I think. Jordan Clarkson's definitely bumped us up another level. Royce is up there. Rudy's is just European fashion. Bojan dresses up too. We actually got a lot. Donovan does.
Yeah.
George Niang tries to, but it's just he's just weird. And I just wear my Jazz sweat. Well,
you just do your thing.
Free Jazz sweats. Come on.
You're not going anywhere. You have a night off in New York. You're not going fancy. You're not going anywhere fancy. You're not going clubbing in the meatpacking district.
What did we do last time when we did the podcast?
It was 8 a.m.
The day after we had stayed the night in New York. Yeah. I was up this morning, same thing, early. And we had a day game yesterday, so I went to bed even earlier. No.
Well, here we are. The Jazz are 27-12 in a 3-way tie, I believe. I don't have Wi-Fi right now. It's one of the perils of doing these at a hotel. I don't have Wi-Fi. I believe you're in a 3-way tie for second place. You've won a lot of games in a row, or a lot out of whatever it is. You're on a hot streak that has coincided with your reintroduction into the starting five. So you guys got off to a fast start and then a very slow stretch where the offense just kind of didn't look right. The number of passes were way down, the number of threes were way down. All the Quinn Snyder stuff was just not happening. What was it? Just a matter of A, new people to integrate, and B, I do think defenses were defending you guys in a smarter way, right?
Yeah.
Rudy had a much harder time getting lob dunks.
Yeah, I don't think he had many at all in the first part of the year. I think, a few different, I think a combination of, Rudy broke the record last year for dunks in the season, I think it was, and I think he broke it by a fair amount of dunks.
Yeah, I think he had 300 something dunks, and then Giannis, if you included the playoffs, Giannis passed him. But regular season, Rudy set the record.
So Rudy's got it. Don't worry, Giannis has got enough things of his own.
He has a lot of accolades.
So I think that was a big part of it. Like we were defended very differently. It was we used to be able to get down and throw it to Rudy, and if they would help in on Rudy, we'd throw it to the corner and we'd shoot threes. That's what we did. I think the personnel, I've said it a few times, like my first 5 years here, whatever it was, we had like maybe 3 changes, 4 changes, nothing crazy. And it was always our core had pretty much been here the whole time together. And then I think we had 10 new guys, 10 new guys, whatever it was.
And you just made a trade.
And we just got rid of, so we were talking about that. Me and Rudy, the only 2 left from Quinn's first year here.
Who would have thunk it, Joe Ingles, when the Clippers waived you as your wife was on a plane here, and that you are now the last man standing with Rudy Gobert?
I didn't think it would be me, especially with. I'll have to ask Dennis and all that one day, but the rumors about they thought I was okay at basketball, but we just drafted Dante and I was roommates with Dante at the time of the national team. So
I've heard. I mean, I don't want to speak for Dante Exum, but I've heard you were maybe one of Dante Exum's heroes. He might have had a poster of you at some point.
He used to wear how, I don't know, whatever fans in New York wear Carmelo jerseys and.
Yes, I am familiar with fans wearing jerseys.
That was Dante in Australia. He used to wear my the team was called the South Dragons in the NBL that I played for, and he used to come to games and cheer for me, and probably I'm sure he asked for an autograph, and there's a photo of it online.
Do you think you signed it? Were you a polite young Australian star? Or
yeah, he would. I feel like he would have been a little bit rude asking. He would have just shoved it in my face and kind of expected me to do it. But I was his hero. He was probably a little nervous, and
you have taken credit now subsequently for Royce O'Neal and George Niang's development. I saw a quote saying you've mentored them. You were tongue in cheek, but you're not being you've helped these young pups mature into key contributors for this Jazz team, right? You're taking credit for this.
100%. If I didn't do what I did, who would have been someone had to start the trend of being a babysitter to Dante to a 5th pick and then being the last guy on the roster with an All-NBA center. I mean, obviously a little bit of credit to them for working hard.
A little bit.
Yeah, they've done they work a little bit hard and go to the gym and shoot at some extra shots and all that, but they really just looked up to me and followed me.
The example that you've set.
Oh yeah, prime professional athlete.
So you have this sort of weird hiccupy start where it doesn't look right. Mike gets hurt. You get moved back into the starting 5. Everything starts to click, and it is amazing. And I don't say that I've written this already. I don't say this to flatter you because you're here. You are now so embedded into the Jazz DNA of how the Jazz play when things are going right that as soon as you got back in there, the Jazz started looking more like the Jazz again. So Mike is going to come back soon. I was just at your practice. Mike looked quite good practicing. I don't know what the date is, but he looks like a player who's going to play soon. Do you guys have any idea what's going to happen to the starting 5 when Mike comes back?
I don't. You had a good conversation with Quinn after. Maybe you do.
He did not. He did not tell me. I did ask. He did not tell me.
No, I mean, I think for me at the start, kind of individually, it was an adjustment. I mean, I'd started for the Jazz for 2-3 years now, whatever it was. I was obviously comfortable in that. Do I think I'm a starter in the NBA? Yeah. Was I happy to take a role and accept it and try and be really good at the 6th man or whatever? Of course. I wanted to win with the Jazz, and a part of that was the off-season, getting Boyan, getting Mike, doing what we did with our team. It's well, someone's got to come off the bench. So, of course, I was fine with it. Did it take me a while to try and it's very different. I spoke to a couple guys, I'd spoken to Patty Mills a couple of times. I'd spoken to JJ about it a couple of times, because JJ was originally coming off the bench this year too for the first time in 6 years, I think he said to me, or something like that. So,
JJ Redick.
Yeah, and he's actually starting now as well.
Yes.
But it was different, and I think regardless of how I was playing then, I think I would have figured it out and I would have been able to adjust. And going back into the starting lineup when Mike went down, I guess, good timing for myself because I started to play better, but it was just a natural, like, it was like, oh, well, this is what I'm used to. This is, like, I didn't have to think about, like, oh, what am I going to do now? Or how do I get involved? Like, it was just like, this is what I've done. So that was the easy part. That was, like, come down the court, Rudy's there, like, Donovan's out. It was just normal to me to, as soon as I got put back in. So, regardless when Mike comes back, if that's me, if it's whatever it is, whoever it is, if it's me, I'll accept it, and I think I'll be a lot better playing the way I've been playing recently. It'll be a lot easier to just go there and hopefully just kind of continue to play the way I've been playing.
Go back to the bench, you mean, or go wherever you are? I don't think they're going to put. If I had to guess, I think you're staying in the starting lineup. That's just a guess. I just don't think you mess with it. I think it's worked. Part of the reason was Favors was gone, right? And you had such a nice partnership with Favors.
Yeah, so me and Fav would both start, but we would both come out really early, and then we'd go back in and play kind of with the second unit and basically play like me and him pick and roll the whole time.
I believe you caught him this year with the patented Joe Ingles pass fake. I think you got him.
I did. He said I said it to him because I looked at him as soon as I did it and laid it up, and he said something about doing it again and I'll get it next time or something, but he won't.
He won't get it.
No.
I remember we were
Mahimi did like a 360 yesterday.
You got him?
He turned like 3 times the wrong direction.
Have you ever told a player, a big man, before a game, I'm going to get you with the pass fake and then get him?
Not before, but
because there was a game, I'm not going to say where you came up to me before the game and we were just chatting in warm-ups and the opposing center was behind us and you tapped me on the shoulder and said, I'm getting him with the pass fake later in the game. I don't know if you got him, but you called it. You called your shot with the pass fake. You called your fake, I guess.
I mean, I feel like it's, I don't know. I don't know.
Hidden me spun like a top. I got to watch it.
Yeah, he went like the other way. Like instead of like looking at me and turning this way, he went back. Like he's backwards towards me.
Did you make the shot?
Of course.
Because if you miss, you can't brag if you miss.
I don't miss him very often.
Once you get an open layup.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know why it's still, I don't know how it's still
How many
works.
times do you think you've dunked this year? I know the answer, by the way.
Dunked?
Yeah, how many times do you think you've dunked?
How many games? Like 40?
This year, just this year.
Yeah, I'm just like 2.
2 dunks, that's correct.
Is it?
What do you think your NBA career season high is for dunks?
In what? In
one season?
7.
6.
6.
So my question is,
no.
Why can't we do something like Jared Dudley does, where it's like you make a goal? I think CJ McCollum did this too, and I don't think he's going to get it. Where you like 10 dunks. Why can't you get to 10? Just set a goal, 10 dunks, and make it.
Do you know? I thought I was going to get one last night in Washington when I didn't realize that Bojan had fallen down and hurt his ankle, and we got a steal or something, and I like picked it up and I took one dribble and I was like, oh, I'm like the whole half court's in front of me, and then like Bojan like came out of the crowd somewhere with limping on his ankle, and I was like, well, I have to throw it to him, and then he dunked it. So I don't know what he did to his ankle.
That's very nice of you. 10 dunks. I don't think that's a lot. What are you, 6'7"?
It's harder than it seems. You're acting like I'm playing in like your league on Wednesday nights or something. Like dunks are hard.
They are very hard. They're not easy to get.
And my ball fake layup is worth exactly the same amount of points and probably like 98% less of the energy I need to.
Greater humiliation factor too, I think. There's a special kind of humiliation for fall when a big man
Especially
falls for it.
Me. It's like I'm going bored and I'm slow and.
We're going to, later in this podcast, we were going to do, I'm stealing Jimmy Kimmel. I think it's Jimmy Kimmel does mean tweets. I'm going to read some Joe Ingles mean tweets, and you can respond to them.
I'm sure I've got some great ones.
Huh?
I'm sure there's some great ones.
They're not that good. They're just okay. So one of the interesting things that's happening this season, the way the season is breaking, the 2 seed in each conference is looking like a really nice thing to get. Like there's a gap between 6 and 7 in each conference, and the races for the 2 seed are really good. You're in a tie for it now. I believe with Houston and Denver Clippers, you're all bunched up 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you care?
At game 40, no. Will I when we get to like 70, 75, 80? Maybe, depending on who it is or what the matchup could be. But I think, like you said, I think the higher the seed, the better. I think regardless of. Like you want to be as high as you can, regardless. You want to start at home and play. Obviously, just being the 8 for starters. we've been, I think we were fifth the last couple of years, or fifth or sixth, or 2 years in a row, or something like that. We've been around that fifth, sixth for a few years. So, do I care that we started away? No, because we still won series and we've played well, I think, regardless.
Well, let's talk about that, because you have some playoff history now with a lot of these guys that are in your neighborhood. Houston, Denver, Clippers, 3 really good teams, 3 really different teams.
Yeah.
You've faced James Harden in the playoffs twice now.
Yeah.
Got you both times.
Yeah.
Clippers, this is a totally brand new team. You have, however, faced Paul George before in the playoffs, which we'll talk about. And Denver is just a unique animal with Jokic and the way they play.
Yeah.
Out of those teams, is there a team that you, I don't want to say are worried about, but a team you look at and you're like, that's kind of, I'm curious to see how we match up with that team, or the Rockets with Russ and James, like they're just a different animal this year. Like, what are those teams that's like interesting to you?
Well, I think the one that is Houston, only because we haven't been able to figure out in the playoffs how to beat them. We've beat them in the regular season before or whatever, but they've knocked us out. So they're a team that you're like, well, they would obviously be confident going into a series with us, because especially James, he's been there and they've beaten us. Is any of our teams sitting in the hotel now like worried about who we would play? Not really. Like, and when it gets to that point too, like if we match up with whoever it is, like I don't think anyone's scared to play anyone. They're very different. Like, I think, like you said, like the 3-4, whoever we could play then, the game plans would be so different for each one.
Well, last year against Houston, I think one of the things that really surprised people in the playoffs is you guys came out from Jump Street in that series, game 1, with a very unconventional plan for Harden. Play on his back, let him drive. There was some jump switching involved that was sort of like rarely does a team as good as you guys come into the playoffs without having taken a loss and overhaul their game plan. What was that like as a player? Did you feel almost like, boy, I wish we could just, let's try and play them straight up before we go this way? Because it was clear just watching the games, you guys on the floor were having trouble doing this brand new thing when the spotlight was really bright.
Yeah, I mean, it was different. I think because you play 82 games the same majority the same way. A lot of your defense is what it is, and you obviously we're lucky to have Rudy where we have him, and so you do play 82 games with a few adjustments, but your kind of conventional style is pretty similar. So I think that's why the first game or two it probably looked ugly, and we weren't used to doing what we were doing. But when Quinn Snyder walks in a room and tells you what you're going to do, and is so passionate and believes in it so much,
Swayze's sweating.
He's so like it's like impossible to not agree with him, because and anyone that knows him knows he's spent like countless nights not sleeping working out what he thinks is the best plan for our team. So when he comes in and does something like that, you're like, of course we believe in it. We're going to do it, and we're going to do it to the best of our ability. Like, was it different? Of course it was, because we hadn't played like that at all. And then I think as the series got on, we did it better and better. We made little adjustments like we have in every series that I've been in. There's little things that you find, and I think there was a stat that I saw somewhere, or someone told me, that was like 3 of the 5 games or something like that were against us that during the regular season and in the playoffs were 3 of their worst 5 like scoring games.
And James didn't have a crazy series. Even when they were winning games in that series,
well,
James
the thing with
crazy.
him is he kills you when he gets to the free throw line, and he kills you when he's making those step back threes. So if you can take them away and he's shooting floaters, like, yeah, he's going to get downhill a little bit, but we've got the best defender in the league protecting the rim.
Do you talk to James? Because you have quickly become known as one of the league's premier trash talkers. Is there anyone you won't talk to because you're like, I don't want to poke LeBron? Will you talk to LeBron? Will you talk to James?
I would, yeah. I'm not like, again, like I'm not, they're all human beings. Like we're not, it's not like the Monstars or whatever from Space Jam. Like
okay.
Everyone's, there's been people that I try to say stuff to and they won't even acknowledge me, and I'm like, and I'll say to them like, all right, well, if you don't want to talk, and we won't talk. Like it's fine. But there's like I've said, like I never ever have once in my life gone into a game like, oh, we're playing whoever, player X, and I'm going to go in and tell him about this or say this. Like I've never pre-thought about anything. I just go in and usually I get heckled from the crowd and then I say something back to them and then...
Who did you blow kisses at this year? A Pistons fan, I think?
Everyone. Probably too many. I did the other night I can't remember where we were recently, and I hadn't even caught the ball yet. I was running in transition to the corner, and I think Emmanuel had it, and I hadn't even caught, I didn't even know if I was going to get the ball, and they started talking before I'd even, and I could hear them, I was in New Orleans, I think, and you can already hear them talking and all that, and then I saw Emmanuel throw it. I'm like, well, I'm going to shoot it now because they're already saying something. So I had to shoot it, which that was probably the only thing I've pre-thought about. And then I shot it and it went in, and it's just become a bit of a natural.
There was one clip I found where Nurkic was guarding you on a switch in the right corner, and the cameras
in front of our bench,
Yeah,
in front of our bench,
and the cameras caught you telling Nurkic, "I'm shooting this right now."
I don't think I was telling. I think I was telling Rudy because Rudy was going to I had a switch.
Oh,
so I didn't. I think Rudy was coming up to screen, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, "What do you like? I don't want you to screen. I've got Nurkic. Like, I'm going to drive him or shoot it." And then I think Rudy was kind of coming up, so I was like, I'm going to shoot it. Like, just go and either rebound it or leave it if it goes through the net. So, I'm not going to tell him. That's stupid if I told him. He's just going to block it. He's big as hell.
Yeah, but you can get him off his rhythm a little bit with a little jab step or something.
I have seen people had sent that to me. But I'm pretty sure Rudy was coming up and it was basically telling him to go and get the rebound or...
Now, when... I did name search on Twitter for Joe Ingles. One thing that comes up over and over again is people want to see a Joe Ingles versus Paul George rematch in the playoffs. There's still good memories from 2018, Thunder, Jazz. You got under PG's skin a little bit. You had one where he was inbounding the ball and you very rudely stepped out of bounds into his space as he was inbounding the ball. And got the double technical for that, I believe. Maybe just you got teed up.
No, just he did, actually.
Oh, just you did?
No, just him. I didn't get one.
Wow.
I don't know, I just misplaced where the line was and
just forgot.
Was talking to the referee and I don't
think he enjoyed your trash talk. I don't think Paul was having a lot of fun with it.
I don't think he likes me at all, to be honest. I think he hates me. Which I'm like if we were ever teammates or like hung out in the summer or something, I think we would probably get on really well. But I don't think that'll
Have you ever hurt someone's feelings, do you think?
No. I don't think anyone's going home like, damn, that
I have one
Australian kid really hurt my feelings.
I have one example.
There's no way you have an example.
I have an example of the player I will protect. One of your coaches told me this. Said Joe can get biting. Joe knows how to try to get under people's skin, and I'll protect the player. Bench player was getting in a game. This is the story I heard.
Oh, I think I know what you're gonna. Yeah, keep going.
And you do the thing where you ingratiate yourself with him. You act like you're going to be his buddy. You say, "Hey, man, I noticed, Team X, man, they're not playing you hardly at all."
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so here's the story I heard, and the guy's like, "Yeah, they're not playing me," and you're like, "Yeah, that's tough." Like, kind of implying that the team like is really, really blowing it by not giving this guy more of an opportunity. And the guy says back to you, "Yeah, they're not playing me. I don't know what to tell you. I'm puzzled by it." And you just said, "Well, that's because you're trash." Right in his face.
I said because you're terrible, but trash is a lot more offensive.
That would hurt my feelings. Trash is worse than terrible?
I think so, right? Like,
see, in my opinion, NBA players
I said it with a smile on my face. I was like, there's no way I was like mad and saying...
I don't think this guy's in the NBA anymore. Maybe that was the moment...
That's not my fault.
That ruined his life.
That's not my fault.
You didn't feel bad about that at all?
No, because I was like kind of laughing, like we were having... Maybe I am a bad person.
That was so trash. I think you're allowed to say trash to each other, but I hate when fans are like, so and so in the NBA is trash. No one in the NBA.
Someone courtside last night in Washington said that we play like we're dirty or we're trash and dirty or something. Or we play something, and I was like, dude, like, watch, like, just be quiet, enjoy the game. Like, that annoys me. Well,
and it was just speaking of Washington, it was just Isaiah Thomas that got suspended,
Yeah.
I think, for going into the stands and confronting a fan. I do, when I go to, I think
They just flipped him off though, right? Like he said they were flipping him off while he was shooting free
he
throws.
said
or
something
like
else. I think he said something,
something
that
too.
crossed the line. I do find it always like fans pay tickets. They should cheer for their team. They should boo the other team. If they want to, if you're shooting 25% from three and they want to say, "Hey, Ingles, you suck. You're shooting 25% from three." But like the fans who like, even especially when there are little kids around, who start getting like graphic and X-rated and like MFing your mom and this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
sometimes you look at them and like, you're like a 45-year-old dude.
like, what are you doing
Like
in life?
what happened to you?
Yeah, well, it's so sad. It's sad because I'm all for, especially obviously the way I play, and I do like to talk and whatever, and like I'm all for people booing, like, and people say stuff to me without a doubt. Every single game from the crowd, I get something. Unless we're at home, because my home fans love me.
They do.
Not like there's not a doubt in my mind going into a game that someone from the crowd is going to say something to me, and it doesn't bother me not one little bit. But there's sometimes that like you look at the people that like, because it's always within 5-10 rows because you can always hear them, and I've like looked at some of them and I'm like, there's days it's like it's, to me it's like sad. Like, enjoy the game, boo all you want. Like, I'm all for cheering and booing. Like, I think it's kind of a part of the game. Like, of course your home team doesn't want to give an advantage. Like, that's just what they're going to do. But yeah, once it gets to the point of like, I've never had anyone say anything about like Renee or the kids or anything like that. But if someone did that, I might be there with Isaiah Thomas.
I wouldn't blame you. Wouldn't blame you. Did you respect what Jimmy Butler did to TJ Warren the other day? Did you see that?
I did. He blew him a kiss, right?
Well, he got into it with him, and TJ Warren got so ticked off that he got himself thrown out of the game, and then Jimmy Butler blew him several kisses on the way out.
Yeah.
I felt like I in thinking about you, I was like, I bet Joe, like, because Jimmy did the work. He won.
Me and Jimmy have, so like every game before we play wherever he's played the last few years, he's come up to me, or I've gone up, like, and we've got double teed up to get like together a few times, and
very nice. They have a nice relationship.
Yeah, but he always comes up, and one of us will go up and it's like, hey, let's try not to get teed up today. Like, which is, I still remember the one in Chicago, when he was playing for Chicago in Utah, and he went to go like, it was like a cross screen for him to post up, and I tried to blow it up and like get between him, and we kind of hit. I fell over because he's like 3 times.
He's a tank.
Yeah, and he like stood over me and had like, he was like looking at me all crazy, like, and I wasn't like, Jimmy's a guy I wouldn't really like. I was a little, and then out of nowhere, Trevor Booker came and like saved my life and pushed him out the way, and but we've got this history of it, so.
But this seems respectful, like playful almost, not like Paul George.
No, I don't think Jimmy Butler hates me.
Okay,
he might. I mean, maybe he does, but it's in Miami. We went to Miami whatever a month ago and came up again, and we kind of laughed about it. And we had a chat about Miami and Utah. Like, it was, yeah. Like, we both compete.
Yeah,
I enjoy guarding him. He's obviously a great player, so it's a fun challenge for me. So.
Speaking of Butler being physically a tank, I think actually, in all seriousness, I think, you know, and I was talking to some people with Utah about this, and they won't give me good answers because they want to keep their secret. But I do think your story, there have to be some lessons from your story that the rest of the NBA should take from, like, this guy who was a marginal prospect is now a critical starter. Like, why? What did we miss? What happened? What did he do to make the transformation? And one of the things that came back to me was Joe got to the NBA and realized, like, I got to get an NBA shape. Like, I got to get physically, I got to get in much better shape. But I don't know. So what was
pretty significant?
What was the hard? Was it lifting? Was it dieting? What was like the hardest? What was the focus of that?
Probably like all of it, to be honest. I'd always been like I never, I mean, as you can tell by my, like, I've never been a big gym lifter. Like, I don't go in there and try and bench press as much as I can. I just never. Playing in Europe, in Barcelona, like the 3 years in Barcelona and stuff like that, like, all you eat is carbs. So I was probably a little heavier than, I think when I came in, I was like 230, 235. And I got there, and like Dennis Lindsay still like makes jokes about like the fat kid from Australia we first brought in.
See, I can't picture you fat. When they first started telling me that, I thought, well, okay, weightlifting and all that I can see because of what you just said self-deprecatingly about yourself. Fat, I can't. I missed fat Joe Ingles.
Well, I was like 230. I reckon I was about 235ish, give or take. Now I play like we weighed in before we came. I was 219. I've been that for 3 or 4 years now. I think, yeah, and on the flip side, though, like when I was in Europe, I wasn't playing as well. Like I was just practicing, and
you weren't playing much. Period. I don't think your coaches there didn't think you were this for sure.
No, which maybe if they did, they'd still have jobs, but that's for them to worry about now. But no, I wasn't. I didn't. When I played in Granada, my first ever year in Europe, me and Richard Hendricks played on the same team, and we led the league in minutes. So I played that year. I went back to Granada for my second year, and like 5 games in was when I got bought out by Barcelona. Went there for like 2 3/4 of a year. And I started when I first got to Barcelona. I was playing a lot because I went there because Pete Michael was injured. Basile, one of the Italian guys, was injured. So I kind of came in to, I guess, like help bolster the roster because they were so depleted at the time. But then when they all got back, I was out of there. And then the next year I didn't play. The next year after that I didn't play. Went to Maccabi. Blatt had was pretty keen on getting me to come. I went there. I played a lot in the first quarter of the year in the EuroLeague and all that, and then didn't play for the next 3/4 of the year, and then came over here and got in shape.
What's the most pressure you've ever felt in the NBA? And when I was looking back, I was like, I was looking back at that Oklahoma City series from 2 seasons ago because it was such an interesting series, and I remembered I picked you guys to win that series. I was one of the. I think we were like 75-25 at ESPN picking the Thunder. I picked you guys.
Thank you.
And I was rooting for my prediction to come true. And then in Game 5 in Oklahoma City, I was getting cocky. It was 71-47. I think you guys were up a lot in the third quarter of Game 5.
Crazy.
Russ went berserk. You guys lose. You come home to Utah for Game 6. That's a real demoralizing loss. And in Game 6, well, if we lose this, we're going back there. Was that it in the NBA? Is that 48-hour period or whatever? Like, what's that? Is that
it was definitely up there. I've got another one I'll tell you about as well. But that was like being up 30 and losing and really just kind of losing to Russ. Like he just put the team on his shoulders and was like, this isn't how it's going to end for OKC this year. And like we were like kind of going over and under with him, like kind of trying to mess with him and for the whole series. And he made a couple, and then we were like, maybe we should start going over. And then he was like pulling up in transition. And then I would go over. Now he's like on the rim dunking, and it's like, all right, this is like now their crowd is amazing, especially in the playoffs.
You feel it as a visiting player. You feel it.
That was one of the loudest. Our arena during the playoffs is. I still think.
But do you care though as an opposing player? Like, does it actually? Can you just?
No, it doesn't. Like,
but you can't. Can you not hear?
You can't communicate. Like even in timeouts, like those last couple of timeouts when Russ is doing what he's doing, like we could barely hear in the timeouts. It was so loud. It was pretty cool to be a part of. Not the fact that we lost, but yeah, going back, I think even losing that game, I think the confidence we were up 30. We were like, we know what we need to do to beat the Russ went crazy. Like if he doesn't do that, we win by 20, whatever it is. Obviously shows that the fight that he had because he wasn't going to let it be over. But we knew going into Game 6, that was on us. Like if he does that the whole game, and that's just he's just an unbelievable player. If he does that again for 48 minutes, so. We knew what we needed to do going into that. It's still a lot of pressure because you're at home now. Like you said, if we lose that, we're going back to the atmosphere that we've just envisioned, which is probably going to turn up even more because it's Game 7.
There's also the thing where you give 2 great players one game. Yeah. And you just don't know. One of them's going for 40 and you lose.
Game 1, Paul George had 40 something, and coach pulled me aside. I'll never forget it, and was like, we're basically kind of without directly saying it, we're going to give you one more chance to guard him, then we might have to try something else. And I was like, all right, I don't know what he had the second game. He's obviously a hell of a scorer, so it was going to be tough on me regardless, which is why I'd try to just get under his skin in other ways, because it's like, you put it as a one-on-one with no one else on the court, there's probably a good chance he's going to beat me, unless I get really hot from three, which I can. And there's no big out there to ball fake layup, so it makes it a bit tougher for me. But I remember coach, like, he didn't say like we're not good, but it was like, hey, we need to, like, you need to be better, otherwise we're losing. Like, I'm like, all right, well,
fair. It's the playoffs.
Give
There's
me
no,
another chance,
which
he did. And the other one, pressure wise, is a bit different, but it was the first autism game we had, and like had just finding out about Jacob and going through that, and then I guess we felt like we were kind of alone in this thing while we're going through the process. It's like me and Renee and Miller and Jacob trying to figure out kind of what's going on, and then all of a sudden it's like we're having this a game which the Jazz had done for a few years, so it wasn't the game just for me or for us, but all of a sudden it's become a lot bigger deal. And all I remember was going into the game was like I have to play well. Like, this game, I've got 20,000 people watching me. I've got autistic kids that have come to watch, like me and Jacob, and kind of like that kind of. And I was like, I have to play well. This is like, and for me that was one of the more like. And I nearly had a triple-double. But
I was going to say, did you play well?
I was one rebound off a triple-double.
Well, because there's playing well, like, you're the kind of guy who can play well and score 8 points, and so the casual fans who are come to the game will kind of not realize that, oh, Joe Ingles had, he defended well, and like his rotations were on point, and like he threw some extra passes. Like, there's playing well, and then there's like, oh, Joe Ingles made 6 threes. He played well. So did you so you put up numbers? Yeah,
which is kind of bad, but they had they were donating per assist that I had. So at the start of the game, I was like, I always try and get my teammates involved at the start, regardless. There was probably a little extra motivation to like throw an extra pass instead of shooting it, but I wouldn't. It didn't change the way I played. But I had like 8 assists in the first quarter or something like that. So I was like, this is awesome. Like, the money's gone to obviously something that's really close to me, so that's awesome. And then it was just like, I want to win. Like, we had so many people from the autistic community in Utah at the game, and families and mums and dads that had gone through what we'd gone through, and Renee there, and it was just the whole build up to it was a lot. And then we won, and to play well, and they were trying to get me to go back in with like 3. Like, we were up enough that we didn't play the last 4 or 5 minutes, and they were trying to get me to go back in to get a rebound, and would have been my first triple double, but it wasn't. Like, I've never played for my own stats or anything.
You don't have a triple double?
No. Quinn asked me. Quinn came down and was like, do you want to go back in? I was like, no, we're up. Like, I want to win. And
big mistake.
I've never like, that's the type of thing that I would be like, yeah, I'll do that, and I'll go get injured. Like, something would happen.
Fair.
If I was
don't tempt the basketball gods.
Like, played for my points or rebounds or whatever it was, then maybe I'd go back in and like pretend I want to finish the game on the court. Because
I assume you've seen the famous Ricky Davis clip, right?
Of
Ricky Davis intentionally missing a shot to try and get a 10th rebound for a triple double. That's an all-time NBA moment. That should be in the Hall of Fame. They need. I've written this column before that they need a wing of the Hall of Fame for the most ridiculous stuff that happens in the NBA, and that should be playing on a loop somewhere in that wing.
The only thing that could have happened that game, which I don't regret at all, but when we started to come out, I was the first starter that came out. So he could have left me in for like another possession or two and like took like Donovan out and Rudy out. But I was more than happy. We won the game. I ended up with like 14, 15 assists, which put a lot of money towards the autistic community. And so that was.
Speaking of getting your teammates involved, one of the things that statistically, this is true about you every year, and it's going to sound like a bad thing, but it's not going to be a bad thing, I promise you, is when you look at pick and roll numbers, and you look at, for guys who do a lot of pick and rolls, highest turnover rate, you're always in like the top 10. And I feel like, though, like, that's somewhat akin to like Steve Nash was always near the top of the league in turnovers. Like, it's kind of the price you pay for being a pass first guy and having a greater goal of, I just want, like, the ball needs to be moving. But part of that is like, you try some high risk thread the needle stuff. So are you aware of those numbers, and you just chalk it up to like, this is just kind of the price of doing business?
I've been made aware by coach a couple of times. There's been a couple of times, like in the past couple of years, where he's put in like all the small forwards in the league that play pick and roll. I've played 100 pick and rolls for the year, and I'm second in whatever it is on turnovers. And I feel like, I don't know, I obviously don't try and turn it over, but I do like tippy-toe the line of maybe I should just throw like right to you instead of like trying to bounce past it to Rudy between two guys or whatever it is. Like I said before, like a lot of it is just me trying to get those guys involved. Like I want to get Donovan easier shots and Rudy dunks on the rim and like stuff that keeps them involved, because like I really couldn't care less if I scored myself. There's been like, I felt like Vince, my basketball coach, will show me clips of like I'm jumping at the rim and I'm like, the rim's like right next to me and I'm like throwing it to the corner for a three. Like, but it's just like I've always been a pass first. Like I've always wanted to get my teammates involved first. Like I've never worried about my own scoring, and maybe that's why I never played in Europe. But I'd always just done that. I think within the NBA, it is a lot easier to score than what it is in Europe. There's a lot more opportunities and possessions and all that, so you get more. And I've learned now that like there was games early in my career where like I was giving up wide open shots and I was passing to Rudy with my guy and his guy in front of him, where it's like now I know as well that if I just like lay it up a couple of times or shoot the open three, it's going to open up more as well. So
I assume the most pressure you felt is for Australia and not for the Jazz. Is that true? I assume those games in the Olympics are just a whole different thing.
Especially the last couple of tournaments because of, I guess, that hanging of
your team fourth place.
Yeah,
right
we've done it too many times, and we've never won a medal for Australia, but in men's basketball. So Rio, we were close.
Lost by one. I forgot that.
Yeah.
Lost the bronze medal game by one.
Yeah, on free throws that were questionable, if you ask me. Playing Spain again in the semi-final this last tournament, and then playing France and being up, I think we're up 10 or 12 in the third quarter, and that pressure is more like you don't feel it during the game. You don't feel like you're playing the game with like 24 million people like standing on your shoulders to win, but to be that first team to do that would be something that, I mean, it would be history obviously, but it would just be it wouldn't even be necessary. Like I would love to do it, but it's like I would love to do it for Australia and for the basketball in Australia and for my family and stuff, like for my teammates, like to do it like for Bogut,
these are now guys you've played with for a long time. Dellavedova, Mills, Bogut, Baines. Like this is a group now.
The group's been together for a long time, and like next year will be me and Paddy's fourth Olympics.
Wow,
trying to win this medal. It's so it's something that you think about it more like this than you do when you're in the heat of the moment of the tournament. But obviously I feel like we've also had a really good chance. I think we've got a great team. If everyone's healthy and plays this year, I think we've got another great chance, and be no better feeling than to win that medal.
Now you're from Adelaide, right?
I am.
Which is near or adjacent to where some of the worst fires are right now. What are you hearing? Like my wife has a cousin who lives in Melbourne, and it's one of the suburbs of Melbourne, and said just yesterday people are now telling us stay indoors because the air and the smoke is like coming near us. So what are you hearing from your friends, your family, who's still there?
Yeah, we've got obviously we've been lucky with kind of immediate family and stuff haven't been affected. Renee had a few teammates that she used to play with that had lost either family homes or bits and pieces, and the most direct one to me was my best friend who owns his own wine business, a winery. Lost the vines, obviously lost the house that was on the property. A ton of money worth of stuff. It was his baby. Like I remember when he started it, would have been, I don't know, 10 or so years ago, and it was like his little baby. He just started it from nothing, and he did it by himself, and he built it into this, like, a few of my teammates and coaches have tried, like, it's unbelievable wine. And he'd done an amazing job. He'd just bought this winery, and so he lost all that. It was a little corner pocket kind of thing that survived, really. But yeah, so it's bad. It's devastating. It's obviously like a billion animals.
I was reading up on it over the weekend. I mean, I've been following it sort of like as a second, like not super duper deep into it. But as soon as we talked about it, I was like, I got to read up more on this. Yeah, the billion with a B is like.
Yeah.
I just wonder. This is your home. This is your homeland.
Yeah.
Like, is it weird to not be there? Or do you feel like
I said it the other day? We did that donation thing with the NBA and NBPA, which was awesome, and we've got some stuff going with the Jazz, which are like, and you can donate. Obviously, for us, all we can really do is try and donate and try and help. Like, I wish I could jump on a plane and go back and like get hands on and try and help some people and help some animals and be. I've got friends, and you see people on Twitter or whatever on social media, like going out to these communities and trying to help. And the crazy part is, like February is known for like bushfire kind of season in Australia.
We're not
we
there
haven't
yet.
even hit that yet.
Yeah.
Some of the fires are starting to like go in the direction of connecting with each other, which is obviously scary. We have had, there was a little bit of relief. There was some rain a couple of days ago, I think, which obviously helps a little bit, but it's such a big amount of space that's obviously already been hit and hurt and obviously still going. So it's the volunteers are fight, like they're the people that to me it's like it's unbelievable. Like they're risking their own lives to help, like regular, like if I was me or my family or friends or whatever it is. And so yeah, it's obviously extremely sad. I honestly wish I could jump on a plane.
What can regular people listening to this do? I mean,
there's a lot of American firefighters got sent over too, which is awesome. There's a lot of donations, websites and links that you can click on all over social media to donate. I think for everyone obviously that's not in Australia that can't go and directly help, it's just the donations to try and help. And the wildlife, the firefighters, I think is a big one, because they're the ones that there's like volunteers out there too. Like they're not paying for all these people to go and help. These guys are just doing it because they're trying to save our country. So yeah, I think if you're not there, the donating whatever you can, every little bit helps in some way. And like I said, we've got some stuff coming up with the Jazz soon that hopefully will make a big difference too. It's
also created a little bit of a political controversy in Australia because the Prime Minister is maybe like not 100% believing that climate change is a thing.
Yeah, I saw something the other day. He said something the other day, and so people aren't very happy with him at the moment. It's I don't know. It's kind of sad. It's like I said, it's for me. It's just like
the scale of it is is just like you can't wrap your head around it.
Ryan Brokoff said it the other night. They addressed the crowd, Philly and Dallas before, and I don't know how big I think he said West Virginia, but that's like the size of kind of what's going on, which is I assume it's pretty big because I know how much of Australia is being burnt right now.
It's you just have to hope that conditions change, I guess, that the donations keep going in. I was
looking at the weather app the other day, and it had a couple days of a bit of rain and stuff, but it's still like looking at it now, like right now I'll do it in Fahrenheit for you Americans. Like tomorrow, which is Tuesday morning there now, it's going to be 91. Like that's not cool.
There were places where it was 120 the other day.
Yeah, it was when it like a couple of weeks ago, there was like 112, 115, which is like ridiculous. That's like Vegas, right, in the summer?
Yeah, Vegas, Summer League Vegas.
And I've been there twice for Summer League, and it was miserable. So like that, plus what's going on with it's just, it's devastating. Well,
go look for websites, go donate, because it is a worldwide level ecological catastrophe, and it's you just can't wrap your head around it.
No.
But we can't end on such a down note. We have to have a little bit of fun because it's still basketball. One thing I forgot to tell you when we were talking about trash talk, I was at some Warriors Jazz games over the last few years.
Yeah.
The Warriors, when they were running roughshod over people, they would let you hear about it. And I was at a couple of Jazz games. I remember one in particular where like half your team was hurt in Utah. And they came and you guys fought pretty hard. You might have even had a lead in the fourth quarter and they beat you and everyone's talking trash. I wonder is the league having a little revenge tour right now? Does it feel nice to see Draymond and see Draymond take some L's?
I mean, it is because and obviously that's like a credit to them saying that because they've been so dominant for 5 years, 6 years, whatever it's been in the finals 5 straight times, whatever it was, and won a lot of games, and obviously they're going through, and the crazy part, like if they were still healthy now, like just with Steph and Clay, and like they're still going to would have been really good, obviously.
Yeah.
Even losing KD, having Russell and those guys and whatever, if those three had worked it out, they're still a really good team. So, but I'm definitely not opposed to going to Oakland or them coming to us and playing against them as many times as we can right now.
Let's do some Joe Ingles mean tweets. Are you ready? Joe Ingles is one of my favorite guys to watch in the league. Starts off nice. Joe Ingles is one of my favorite guys to watch in the league. Toby Flenderson looking guy, completely busting dudes every night. How often do you get Toby Flenderson?
Yeah. I
from
didn't
The
know
Office.
I don't watch The Office. I've never watched The Office, but someone had said it a few times. I looked it up and I was like, yeah, like I feel like I'm a better athlete than him, but
he's the villain. He's also the villain of the show.
He's a better actor than me. So.
He's also the villain of the show as the HR
really?
guy. He's the villain of the show. Joe Ingles looks like he's been playing for the Jazz since before Karl Malone. That's mean.
That's not very nice.
I actually don't think that's true.
That old?
No, I don't think that's true.
I wonder how old these people think I am.
I have never hated an NBA player more than I hate Joe Ingles.
That's not very nice. He doesn't even know me.
I think you should take pride in that.
Oh, it doesn't. Like, I'm not going to go back to my room and be upset. I'm like,
I like this one. Alex Caruso is a poor man's Joe Ingles.
He started wearing a headband too. You know, I did that first.
I don't think you wore a headband first.
I had like tape wrapped around my head.
But yeah, because you got cut. The story you got some.
Yeah, I got an elbow in the eye.
You weren't wearing a headband as much as you were wearing like a giant bandage with a headband.
It was like the rugby players. The rugby, they tape the thing around their head, but then he did that like with the like showing that he had a headband on, and I did that when I hit the 3 in Memphis. So he copied me on that.
So you reject any Alex Caruso comparisons out of hand? Just not.
I don't know.
You also picked. I saw you picked on a Boyan the other day had like 30, 0, and 0.
How funny is that? 35.
35,
0,
0,
0, 0, 0, 0. I think he had 3.
I call stat lines like that the Allen Houston. Allen Houston back in his prime was just king of like 25, 1 and 1.
He was the other one that was up there with like Boyan had made history for having consecutive. It was like consecutive 25 plus points with 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
So I did not see video of this, but somebody tweeted it. Somebody tweeted it that as Boyan, after a subsequent game in which he recorded 3 rebounds and 3 assists, was giving his post-game interview, you interrupted and shouted 3 rebounds, 3 assists just to make sure the assembled press knew that Boyan had contributed in other ways.
You know, so the funny thing about that is after the 35, 0, 0, 0, the next game we lost a tip. They had the first shot, miss a shot, and he jumped so high for the first rebound. I've never seen him jump that high in my life. And he still had like 30, but he had, like 3 and 3. So he said it himself. He said, I tripled my average. Like, I'm killing it. I tripled what I had last game, which is, anything tripled is impressive.
Yeah, that is very impressive, no matter how you manipulate the statistics. I have a suggestion for you. You ready? I think you should do the skills challenge at All-Star Weekend. Because here's what I think would happen. People would think, well, he's slower than like De'Aaron Fox and all these other guys.
I'd be precise, though.
Huh?
I wouldn't miss a pass or the shot.
This is what I'm saying. It would be a beautiful metaphor for your career because everyone would say, oh, he's the last pick. He can't compete with all these guys. And they're zipping around. But you'll be like the tortoise. You'll like throw the ball through the tire on the first try. You'll hit the 3 on the first try. You won't bobble. Like, I think you should do it. Would you do it if they asked you?
They're not going to ask me. I was shooting 45% from 3 for 3 years straight, and I couldn't get to the 3-point contest.
Have you asked?
You don't ask those things.
Yes, you do. Your agent should.
Bartelstein had definitely pushed for me to do it. And I thought, honestly, the first year that I was shooting like 40, mid-40s, it might have even been higher up to All-Star.
You're over 40 again now.
Well, yeah. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm saying, like, you could campaign for it now.
They're not. I shot like over mid-40s for 2 years straight. The first year I was like, if they invited me, I'd do it because it'd be cool. Like, it wouldn't, like, what? Has an Australian ever competed in the three? Probably. I don't even think an Australian's ever competed in the 3-point contest.
Paddy Mills never got invited? He would be the one, right?
He would be, yeah, or Andrew Gaze, but he only played a couple of years, and wasn't out there enough to shoot as well as your dad has done for his whole career. But after the first year and then the next year, Mark was like, I'm getting you in, you're doing it. And I was like, well, no, like, screw them. I'm going on vacation now. Like, you didn't want me the first year, so, and I'm so done with, like, it's not because they get they want the famous profiled people.
I think they need to have a mix. I think the 3-point shootout is best when it's like you got to have
now they're trying to do it with like whoever's in the game just to try and like those people are kind of first in to shoot or skills or whatever, dunk.
Well, I think you should pivot and go to skills challenge. That's my if they're not going to invite you to the 3-point shootout, I think you should do skills challenge.
I'm going on vacation.
Even if they called you right after this podcast, we're like, I think the skills challenge is a great idea. Would you compete? You're just saying no.
Where is it this year?
Chicago.
I would sit down with Renee for like 10 seconds and have a conversation with her and see what she thought. And then, is it the first day? If it was the first day, I could get
Saturday.
Away. I don't know. No.
The 3-point shootout is best when they got to have 2 or 3 stars.
Yeah.
They got to have 2 or 3 specialists. Like this year, I'm going hard on Bertans needs to be in it because that guy is just jacking up crazy amounts of threes.
Crazy ones with us.
Duncan Robinson because he's an incredible story and he's shooting the hell out of it.
See, why wouldn't I
you would fit into that category. You've given up. You don't even care anymore.
3 years ago when I was shooting 50%.
I don't know. I guess I just wasn't.
But a rookie comes in and you want to jump on his bandwagon right away.
Well, I'm sorry. And there should be a couple.
Has he been on the podcast?
No.
Twice?
Never.
Will he?
I think he would, yeah.
I'm saying, do you want him on the podcast?
Yes, I would. Yeah, particularly if he gets into the 3-point shootout. Defending champion needs to be in every year.
Who's that? Joe Harris. Yeah.
And then I like
Priority Sports there.
Huh?
Priority Sports. Great agency.
Okay. And I like when they have a couple big men. Like put Brooke Lopez, put a 7-footer in there because that just looks fun. Yeah. That looks fun.
How many do they have? 8 or something, right?
I think 8 now.
I can't believe you're campaigning for him and you'd never campaigned for me.
Well,
all the followers you have on this silly podcast, and
now you're really sabotaging your hopes here. I would say it would be an incredible capper because.
Do you think I'd win it? I could win it.
Well, could you get all the shots off? Could you speed up your release to get the shot? Because now you do have the thing now. Your release is faster now, and you have the no dip. You can catch it high and just shoot it.
I could get them off quick enough.
Okay,
I would have to actually try it one time, but. Even if I didn't, I wouldn't miss, so it wouldn't matter because I would be like 3 racks in. I'd have, what do you get for 3 racks and not missing?
You're essentially Larry Birding the 3-point shootout right now. You're guaranteeing that you would win the 3. You don't even need he walked into the still legend of Larry Bird. I think it was 86. He walked into, maybe it was the 88, or he walked into the locker room before and said, which one of you guys is getting second? Or something like that. He also did for my money, a top 3 All-Star weekend moment ever is the money ball, the last money ball on the last rack.
Yeah.
He shoots it. The ball is in mid-air, and he walks off the court with his index finger raised number 1 as the ball is in mid-air, and then it goes in. I mean, if you miss that, that's like, remember when Nick
was
Young...
Was that to win the...
No, that was just his...
He was going to win regardless?
Yeah, I don't remember what the score was or anything, but just when the shot's in mid-air and you're walking off the court... You
were to say when Nick Young turned around or whatever?
When Nick Young turned around, remember that? Out. And it rattled out, and he was like shocked. That's also in my Hall of Fame absurd wing, is that clip of Nick Young...
I can't believe you campaigned for him.
But all right, I'm not. If you want to go,
you just said it.
If you want to go, you should go because when you came into the league, I've told you this before. You would catch the ball. No one would be within 20 feet of you, and you wouldn't shoot. And I would be like, so I'd have never seen you play in Europe or anything. I'd be like, well, what is this guy doing in the NBA if he's not going to shoot this shot? Like, were you? But now you shoot 45%. I don't get it. How you can go from one to the other.
I was just trying to get. Honestly, I think that first year was a lot of like. The difference of the game and all that and trying to figure it out and then just trying to fit in with like I definitely thought I had to get Gordon the ball like as much as possible and I wasn't out there to like. I know now, looking back, like how probably like if I watched games from that first year, I'd probably watch them and be like, what are you doing? Like, that is so stupid that you just gave up that to like drive in and turn it over. Like, just go 0 for 1 instead of turning it over. But it took me a little while to adjust, and yeah, you don't understand how far that felt. Like shooting it when I first came over, it felt like I was like, I should just kick it up there because it felt so far away.
See, that's, and now you'll jack up contested threes. You'll off the dribble every now and then. You'll let them fly now, but it felt that far.
It felt, even every summer, like come back from national team, you come back and that like in preseason, it's like, man, you start like you're shooting them, like, man, it feels far, and then you get back into your kind of rhythm.
Wow.
It's definitely like, it's different. Like this summer for sure, because I struggled even shooting at the start of this year. And I don't know if this had anything to do with it, but I'm like, when you work out with the national team, whatever, when you're shooting, you just shoot from the line because that's what you do wherever the line is, wherever you play. If you're shooting free throws, you shoot from the free throw line. If you're shooting threes, you shoot from the 3-point line. So, but this summer I'm going to make a much more of a focused effort to just take like a big step back and just shoot there the whole summer. And even in your workouts, like I can work out, like they sent Vince to Australia, we work out all that, but you still shoot from the line because you're just not even, you're not thinking about it.
Why wouldn't you go right up to the line?
Yeah. So I'll make sure I make an effort, but I'm disappointed in you. I'm not mad.
Sorry.
I'm just disappointed.
That's fair. It's fair. Last one, I'll let you go. We're halfway through the season. Lakers, number 1 in the West by far in the standings.
Yeah.
Clippers, tons of buzz. Kawhi and PG have played like 17, 18 games together. Bucks are just running roughshod over the world.
Yeah.
Do you guys you guys already made your big trade. You lost your Australian protege.
Who had his career high the other night, which is,
yes, he did.
I was very proud of.
Do you guys still look in the mirror and think we're just not, this is the first year I feel like where the Jazz, even from outside expectations, we're not this like plucky, cute team that might win 50 and make the second round. Like the expectations were, there's something bigger than that. Do you guys still, when you're like this is a team that can win the championship?
Yeah, I think we've got a team 100% that can. I think we, the way we play, the style we play, the coaching stuff we've got, like we were talking about the adjustments of series before, it's like, it's unbelievable the position and the scouting they do to, like it makes a difference. And on top of all of that, we've got, without being like disrespectful to the teams we've had before, we've got the most talented team we've had since I've been here. And so I think we know there's a fight. Like we know we can, if we don't play the way we play, we can lose to anyone. But when we play the right way and play the way we want to play, and put an impact and kind of dictate what we want to do, we feel like we can beat anyone, and we've proved that kind of throughout this year in bits and pieces. We've also proved the other side of it that I said that like if we don't play well and we're not focused, we can lose to anyone. We can struggle. We struggled in the first half against Washington the other night, and we're able to like pick it up, and that was an adjustment without Donovan and stuff too. But no, I really do believe that we've got a team that can do it, and obviously that takes a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck here and there and whatever. But yeah, I think our team is confident that we can do that if we play the right way.
Well, before that, let's focus on the skills challenge. Joe Ingles, one of the great NBA stories of the last 10 years, and now it's not even a great story anymore. It's just kind of like, it feels disrespectful to say that because you're just a good NBA player. It's just like, it's not even a story anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you for making a little time. Please click on all the links to donate to the wildfires in Australia to help fight that. And, there will be some more Joe Ingles media at ESPN coming out pretty soon that is going to be must watch. So, keep an eye out for that. Joe, continued good luck and thanks for making a little time.
Appreciate it. I can't wait till episode 3.
We'll see. Maybe if you win the skills challenge.
Maybe if you campaign for me.